Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my UFC 158 post-fight analysis. Overall, this was a really good card. The exception is, and this is something that a lot of people were commenting on. It's like, why was Nick Ring versus Chris Camozzi and Mike Richard versus Colin Fletcher on the main card? It makes, no sense, Otherwise, I like this card a lot. A lot of interesting storylines coming from here, especially in the welterweight division. A lot of people look good. There's no submissions, actually. So I don't know what got submission of the night. I'm guessing Hendricks versus Condit got fight of the night. Could be fight of the year. Or maybe Cote versus Volker. That was really good, too. Unfortunately, I missed Story versus Mulhern and Root versus Duran. After the FX portion of the card, Dana White announced that Ronda Rousey will be the coach for the next season of The Ultimate Fighter against the winner of Zingano versus Tate. I like that a lot. 135-pound male and female fighters will be contestants of that season. Should be make for interesting television. I'm more curious to see what 135-pound female fighters will get. You can guess some, Invicta fighters like Jessamine Duke. She'd be really good. Leslie Smith, unless the UFC already signed him. Maybe like a Raquel Pennington, Miriam Nakamoto. Marsha Allen. A lot of fighters from Invicta, I can imagine, will be in here. They'll have fun fights, but they're not high level fighters. They're not very experienced fighters. Excuse me. But otherwise, should be an interesting season. It's something I didn't think I'd ever see last year. Oh yeah, I have a female Ultimate Fighter. It's wow, they're actually having a female Ultimate Fighter. That is, wow, I am very surprised. Also goes to show me that Ronda Rousey really, quite honestly, doesn't need Cyborg. I think she's doing fine without her, and it looks like they showed Sarah McMahon in the audience. I mean, I don't think they'll be too short of contenders. I mean, Alexis Davis is there as well. So, on to the fights. George St. Pierre beat Nick Diaz by unanimous decision. One thing that was really surprising about this fight was Nick Diaz's takedown defense later as the fight went on. Otherwise, he didn't have much for the stand-up. Couldn't really do much. Couldn't defend all the takedowns. And once on the ground, George St. Pierre was just on top. He knew his knee bars, a lot of one thing that's really interesting is just the similarities on the ground, all the time. It's he'd get his back, but it's almost like positions in round 1, you'd see almost an exact replica in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, I don't know if Nick Diaz is going to retire or anything. It sounded like he's insinuating that George St. Pierre was had a spinous camp or something. He found it weird that he knew that about the knee bars and stuff like that or whatnot. With George, he's just a consummate professional. One thing that's the interesting story with George St. Pierre is just some of the MMA fans, it's technical mastery for some, and I'm in that camp. I love watching George St. Pierre fights, even though he dominates. And a lot of people say, you know what, he's so good and so much better than his opponents. Why doesn't he get the finish? And that's what's frustrating to them. Granted, a guy like Nick Diaz is very hard to finish. good win for George St. Pierre. Looks like he'll get Johnny Hendricks next, who honestly looks like a legit threat to George St. Pierre with the wrestling, and especially that left hand that dude just spams. That should be a good fight. I mean, as far as stand-up goes, George St. Pierre has the better jab, the better kicks, but Hendricks just has that power. So I think that fight's going to be really interesting. But yeah, the divide with the fans, it's like he's so good that he's boring to watch in a sense. There's that camp, and there's others that are like, dude, this guy's so good. You're watching greatness, And it's a product of being a dominant champ. I mean, granted, a guy like John Jones, who's dominant, or Anderson Silva, can get finishes, or generally get finishes in their fights. It's just, I don't really know how to explain it. It's just, I want to say it's just the way it is. They're just the type to do that. And also, George St. Pierre is fighting a lot of guys that are just really hard to finish. Can't fault him on that. Another dominant performance here. I think, like I said, though, Hendricks, though, if he gets the next shot, which he totally deserves at this point, should get him. It should be an interesting fight. Okay, on to the co-main event. Johnny Hendricks beat Carlos Condit by unanimous decision. I was reading some forums, and I was, somewhat surprised to see that a lot of people had it for Condit based upon, that Hendricks would get takedowns, like especially in the second round was the controversial round. The first round was all Hendricks, more or less, just left hands and punches, and the third round was Condit. So the second round, what people were arguing was that when Condit would push forward and hit Hendricks clean, Hendricks would just take him down. Condit would be very active from his back, throw strikes and whatnot, and even get back to his feet. Because of that, a lot of people, well, not a lot, but there's a majority of people that gave Carlos Condit the second round, and they gave him the fight. I don't know. I don't agree with that, just because with Hendricks also, when he did take him down, he did throw some ground and pound. That's the thing. So it's not like he just laid on him or anything like that. Some people are arguing that this is also fight of the year. It was a great fight. Hendricks spams his left hand. I mean, it is just, it's like ridiculous to see him throw like left after left. Some of them are uppercuts. Some of them are like just like straight. Some of them are hooks. I mean, it's really interesting to watch. And the guy is so strong, man. The way he takes people down is just with authority, The way he throws that left is with authority. His post-fight interview was really funny about like how he wanted to, if they don't get the fight together, he'll fly to his house, get a ref. What's also really interesting post-fight too is just Carlos Condit is like, man, the guy wins when he loses. Like against GSP, he had a really good fight against GSP. He looked good in defeat. Same here, man. It's always the Sword Condit's like the consolation prize. He's always like, I think he gets more fans this way too. It's like, yeah, you lost, but you fought like a warrior. The guy's chin is granite. I've seen him get dropped but never finished. He always recovers. His recovery is amazing. And his cardio is great too. The other thing that was mentioned is if this fight was 5 rounds, you'd kind of have to give it to Carlos Condit. This guy's cardio. I mean, the guy after the fight didn't look like he was in much of a fight. Definitely a warrior. With Condit, I mean, he can fight a Robbie Law who's coming off a big win. I mean, the thing with Condit, it's like it sucks that he's losing, and theoretically you give guys coming off losses other guys coming off losses, but with a guy like Condit, I really think you can give him someone coming off a win. It'd be cool to give him more of a really winnable fight, but I mean, you can give him Damian Maia, you can give him Rory McDonald, you can give him Tarek Saffiedine, that'd be cool. Saffiedine Condit would be awesome. You can just give him something a bit more winnable. Not to say you can't beat those guys, because man, this guy, when he's taken down, he is so good at scrambling. I mean, you saw it in like this fight, you saw it in the Dong Hyun Kim fight. Only guy that can really hold him down really well is George St. Pierre. Otherwise, this guy can scramble back to his feet really well, and his offense from his back is really good, and his stand-up is solid as well. You know, and he has a good chin. Very good fighter, and Carlos Condit here. You also gave Condit Nate Marquardt. That'd be a good fight as well. And segueing into that, Jake Ellenberger knocked out Nate Marquardt 3 minutes in the first round. Marquardt was doing pretty well. You know, he was back against the cage. You know, he threw a body kick. Jake Ellenberger countered with the right, then the left, then dropped him and ground and pound, and it was all over. What someone was saying about this fight, it's like, this is a fight that, you know, the winner, you know, or the fighters in this fight really need a win to really stay relevant. Because after this, like, Marquardt, great fighter, but, you know, and, you know, he can still fight top 10 guys, but at the same time, you know, any title, you know, this is the type of fight that's really going to, you know, get title aspirations, you know, out the window pretty much. You know, and like Nate Marquardt has 2 losses in a row. I don't think he'll get cut or anything. He's a quality welterweight. But you know, as far as title aspirations, I can't see it anymore. Jake Ellenberger, you know, there's good fights for him. You know, a rematch with Condit would be cool. If you want to give him Lawler, if you want to give him Saffiedine, if you want to give him Maia, McDonald. Eric Silva's fighting someone. I totally forgot. If you want to give him Eric Silva, you can do that. Ellenberger's a guy I can see eventually fighting for the title. Heavy-handed guy, good stand-up, very strong wrestling. You know, so just a really solid fighter. I can see him get a title shot in the future. Marquardt, you know, just give him guys coming off losses. Give him a cause check. You can kind of put him a little lower than the top 10. So, like, I know Mike Pyle's going to fight, geez, I forgot who he's going to fight now. Gunnar Nelson. You know, like, give him the loser of that fight. Loser of Hathaway versus Eric Silva. You know, you can give him that fight as well. You know, he's still a quality welterweight and someone, you know, he's still a good quality fighter, but, you know, as you can see, guys like Saffiedine are beating him, guys like Ellenberger, who are really good fighters, really solid fighters. You know, you just can't seem to beat those guys. You beat Tyron Woodley, though, and that's a good win, you know, so he can beat great fighters, but he'll also lose to great fighters as well. Next fight after that, Chris Camozzi beat Nick Ring by split decision. You know, I'm gonna be honest. I had Nick Ring winning that. I thought he should have got the decision. I think he was. I don't think he got the 3rd round. I think he just got the first 2. He was going in and out, kind of pot shotting, but you know he was connecting. He had a really interesting strategy of with his hands down, chin out. Didn't really wrestle too much. Camozzi's just one of those guys. I always say that, you know, I'm not a big Camozzi fan. He hasn't really done anything that I dislike or anything. It's just he's just one of those guys that's good everywhere, but he's not great anywhere. He's not a fast twitch type of guy, you know. He's big for the weight class, but he's not like, he doesn't have like fast twitch muscles or anything like that. He's not going to shoot like a crazy double leg, throw really quick punches. He's not like particularly quick, but he's winning. Ever since Francis Cormon, I think he's on like a 3-4 fight win streak now. Kind of have to give him like a higher level guy, and it's a weird thing because he's lost to like Kyle Noak, and then he's lost to like Francis Cormon. So it's just one of those things with Kamosi. I mean, he's a good fighter, well-rounded, but like he's just not, from his skill set and whatnot, he just doesn't come across like a top 10 guy. Even though he's probably going to get a top 10 opponent next, just because out of merit. The winner of Jacare versus Philippou or something like that. You can also give him Brad Tavares, who's coming off a good win, and Kamosi versus another guy coming off a big win was Tom Watson. Nick Ring just fight more mid to lower tier of the division. Next, right after that, Mike Ritchie beat Colin Fletcher by unanimous decision. And overall, pick-wise, I did pretty well, actually. I got 8 out of 12, so that was pretty cool. Got this one right here. Mike Ritchie, though, looks like he's sparring. It's just, he's not, like, all in, and this fight really goes to show that both these guys are just, like, lower-tier fighters. I mean, they just didn't look good. The fight it wasn't like a lay-in pretty fast or wall install fast. I think what it was, there's a lot of stand-up, but what they were saying is it came off like a sparring match more than like an MMA bout, in a sense. And if they keep Colin Fletcher, even though he's on a 2-fight losing streak, he has a very unique look to him. Just get more lower tier guys in his division, and Mike Ritchie, quite honestly, more lower to mid tier guys in his division. Okay, on to the prelims. Patrick Cote beat Bobby Volker by unanimous decision. I don't necessarily agree with this decision. I mean, round 3 goes to Volker. Round 2, Cote, probably. Round 1 was interesting just because Volker got that takedown, but at the end of the round, near like the last minute of the round, 1 to 2 minutes, Cote was winning on the feet, though. This was a very fun fight. Both these guys showed really good chins, good striking. It's rock'em sock'em robots. Volker, Cote was fading in the third, and Volker was turning it on. He lost, but one thing I said in the predictions, that's true. I mean, this guy is a gamer, man. This guy is just always in the fight, and he proved it here. I'm sure UFC will keep him. He's a really fun fighter. Tough fight for a lot of guys because he's a tough guy to put away, and he's always going to come at you, Perfect gatekeeper type, to be honest. Cote at welterweight, if you get him more strikers, he'll probably have a lot more fun fights. One thing I did like about Cote here, he looked hungry. I mean, there's some fights I've seen him as of late, he just looks flat. But over here, maybe because he's in Canada, maybe because he knows this is his last chance. But he's looked hungry. He looked like a guy that really wanted to win. He just ran out of gas in the third. I mean, it was a grueling fight. Good win for them. I hope with Cote, they just give him more strikers in welterweight. I don't think he'll ever get a title or anything. And Volker, more lower to mid-tier guys. Next, right after that, Darren Elkins beat Antonio Carvalho by TKO in the first round. Controversial stoppage. Yves Levine, I don't know what the heck he was doing here. Seemed a bit ridiculous. That, I'm sure from the way it looked like, Carvalho was probably going to get punched more and probably going to get a TKO, lose by TKO anyways. But at the same time, don't leave that to the imagination, or, the ref should have, shouldn't have stepped in and made it definitive. Hey, Darren Elkins, okay, if that's going to happen, let me see that happen, Darren Elkins showed improved striking against Carvalho, and he needs higher level competition, to be perfectly honest with you. The guy is a huge featherweight. He's on like a 5-fight win streak now at featherweight. Great, really good wrestler, but I was impressed with Carvalho's takedown defense. And then obviously his hands are improving as well. He quite honestly just needs, he needs a higher level of guy. Maybe even someone in the top 10, If you want to do Elkins versus Dennis Seaver or like, I know Swanson's probably going to fight, Cub Swanson's probably going to fight Frankie Edgar. You can also do Darren Elkins, Mike Thomas Brown, former WEC champion. That'd be pretty interesting. Give him someone higher up the ladder. He's a good fighter, Someone I'm watching out for. And, he wanted to make a statement. He got a finish here. This guy cannot get out of the prelims. Seriously. This guy's always on the prelims. I think he deserves out, even if it's on a free card or something like that. Carvalho is a good fighter. He's trading wins and losses at this time, I think. No, he's not. Just more lower to mid-tier guys of featherweight. Next fight after that, Jordan Mean beat Dan Miller by TKO in the first round. Man, this is a kid, welterweight stacked, but this is a kid that's going to come up in the division. He's just a good fighter. Still needs to work on his wrestling. I feel he's probably going to get taken down a lot more. Woodley was able to take him down. Dan Miller took him down, got him in some trouble. So obviously, this guy's stand-up is solid. He uses a jab really well. He uses really good left hands. His lead hand is really good. It hooks, jabs, and body punches. He's really good with that. And he stopped Dan Miller, man. This guy is just one of those guys that's never been finished. In the first round. Not many, Nate Marquardt can't say that. Chael Sonnen can't say that. Who else beat Dan Miller? Bisbing can't say that. Dan Miller's solid gatekeeper, and that's pretty much the type of guys he should be fighting, I'm pretty sure they'll keep him. He's always been the type of guy that fights anyone, anytime, anywhere. And but Jordan Mean, man, this kid's on the up and up. He already fought a solid mid-tier guy. I'd like to see him get a little higher up there now. Maybe the winner of Pyle Nelson or something like that. If I want to give him someone really high up, you can give him like a Dong Hyun Kim. That'd be a pretty bad stylistic matchup for me in my opinion, but I just think he'd probably get taken down a lot. You can go with the winner of Eric Silva, John Hathaway. Who else is that welterweight? I can fight Rick Story. That'd be another good fight too. He's coming off 1-0 over Mulhern. But he's 23 years old. Very solid stand-up, man. His boxing, it's really good. He's a kid I've been looking out for a while in Strikeforce. And now I'm going to be looking out for him in the UFC. I think he's someone to keep an eye out for. Okay, and the final fight, the FX prelims, John McDessie beat Darren Cruikshank by unanimous decision. I like this fight. It was a lot of fun. Picked it right, though. McDessie, actually, he had the better hands. He had the better jab and just the overall better hands. As far as the kicking game, they're pretty equal. But McDessie just shown to have the better boxing. McDessie's in a weird spot because if you give him strikers, he's good because you can give him strikers and he'll have fun fights. However, he's still not that strong on the ground. He's lost to like Enjo Kawani. He's lost to I forgot before that. He's lost to someone else too, and I forgot who. So it's tough to say if he's still. He's still young. He's still a prospect, but unless he fixes his ground acumen, it's just a case of he's a guy that's there to have fun fights. But as far as upward movement in the division, he looks like a guy that might stay in mid-tier purgatory. Unfortunately. They're good fights for him. I mean, if you want to give him someone out there, you can give him Habib Nurmagomedov. Who else is coming off a win? Jeez, Isaac Valley Flag or something like that, I guess. Other like mid-tier guys coming off a win. Cruikshank's a fun fighter to watch. Just get more lower to mid-tiers of the division. Okay, I didn't get to see the Rick Story versus Mulhern fight. Hopefully, Mulhern gets another fight in the UFC. He's kind of one-dimensional, though. I can't really see him having too much staying power in the UFC, to be perfectly honest with you. Rick Story, he's still young, really aggressive guy. I like him versus Jordan Mean. I thought that'd be pretty cool. If not, more like mid-tier guys. Maybe a Kenny Robertson who got that interesting like leg lock on Brock Jardine. That'd be a good fight as well. TJ Dillashaw got a KO victory in the second round against Issei Tamura. Tamura is probably going to be cut from the UFC. He's not that great, to be honest with you. He's coming out off... Before this, he beat Tiquan Zhang, and then he lost to Dillashaw. But, like I say, he's not that good, to be very honest. But Dillashaw, this kid's coming up, His striking needs work. And even his, even though he did hit that, weird knee kick hybrid thing, he took, 3 steps to do it, he still needs to work in his stand-up, but it's improving. He has a good lead uppercut, and his wrestling's really good, and overall grappling's really strong. I'd like to see him fight, maybe a Takeya Mizugaki, who's coming off a win over Dillashaw's teammate, Brian Caraway. Okay? Or maybe he can fight George Roop, who's coming off a win over Ruben Durant. Don't really want to see that fight, though. Or Dillashaw could fight the winner of Pickett versus Easton. That wouldn't be too bad as well. And finally, George Root beat Ruben Duran by unanimous decision. Duran's coming off 2 losses in a row. He lost to Hugo Viana and now to George Root. He'll probably get cut. George Root saved his job. What can I say? I didn't get to see the fight, so I don't know how it turned out. Good win for him. He's just fighting more lower to mid-tier guys of the division. So that's pretty much it for my UFC 158 post-fight analysis. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.